tuning in from. Good morning to Motherland and everyone tuning in from Australia. Good afternoon, people. Good day. It's a very special day. How you guys doing out there? Yes, easy like Sunday morning. Just before we start off, we got this very special guest lined up. For a very long time. I was trying to get him on my show. I'm so privileged and I'm so thankful to this man for coming on the show. Just before we start off, let me just ensure that everything is in working order. I'm just checking whether the stream is on. Just a minute. Right, we are good to go. It's a very special day, people, and I understand it's the Mother's Day, special day all over the world. And before I start the show, let me say a big thank you to all the mothers out there and show my respect for all what you have done for us as humans and as individuals, and mothers, the wives, everybody around the world. And I just take this opportunity to say thank you for all what you have done to humanity. Without you, that we won't be there, especially at a time like this, unprecedented times. And so ideally I would have had a mother on the show, but I have decided, but an equally important person, who's as a parent to most of our cricketers in Sri Lanka, and a man who has done so much service to cricket and otherwise, and building up personalities, and man who contributed so much to our World Cup, the glory and the happy story. The man who never ever accepted the fact that he is one of the most important factors of that victory. And I still remember that when I first heard him interviewed on his arrival after winning the World Cup in Sri Lanka, interviewed by my good friend Lincoln Jayasinghe. I think he was working for Capital Radio at that point. When he was asked, "Coach, what have you got to say about this victory? Just please tell us, your contribution." I still remember this great man saying, "The credit must go to the boys. I haven't done much. I didn't do anything. The boys knew how to play, how to bat, how to bowl, how to play cricket. All I did was I just, tweaked their minds. Got to play them as one unit." And that's the man himself, such a humble bloke. And I've spoken to a few guys. Unfortunately, I have not worked with this Superman in my time, but on and off the field, I have met him a couple of times. It's a brilliant human being, and the little I know. So as I said before, I'm very lucky and grateful to have this guy all the way from down under. I'm going to bring him on the screen right now. Good day, Coach. How are you doing? Good, great to have you on my show.
Thank you, Jonathan. An absolute pleasure to be with you, mate. Can I, first of all, two things. A belated happy Vesak to you and all your viewers and friends and everyone in Sri Lanka. And also, I'll join with you with Happy Mother's Day as well. It is a special day today. I have a mother who's still alive in a nursing home. I've spoken to her. I see her roughly once a week because that's all I'm allowed to do. But for everybody who's got a mum and has a relationship with Australia, Happy Mother's Day.
Great, Coach. Great to hear from you. As I said before at the start of the show, it's always a great pleasure to have you. You're a great human being. All what you've done, I never had the opportunity to say thank you. I think some of the people in Sri Lanka, the cricket fans, we have the opportunity to say thank you for all what you have done for us and putting us on the world cricket map as World Cup champs. And you had a massive hand in that going back to 1996. We have spoken so many years down the line that your contribution, what the boys did, the happy days, and the times that passed by. And Coach, before we move any further, how did you manage this? As we all know that that these unprecedented times, as I said, it was never expected about this pandemic. I think you also in a lockdown scenario, as you rightly said that. By the way, I wish your mom nothing but the very best. I hope she will recover, and all the other mothers who are ailing and need support in these hard times. And how did you manage? I closely follow what's happening in Australia and in Sri Lanka. You have a lockdown scenario, but here in Sri Lanka, we have a curfew in place. So the times are harder. We know there's a massive difference between a lockdown and a curfew scenario where the police have more legally they have more powers. We are not allowed to move around freely. So and it's been a long time. Like I can't even remember the days. To tell you frankly, it doesn't matter whether it's Monday, Tuesday, or Friday or Sunday. It's just another day. The life goes on. You are confined indoors and just losing focus. And the only thing that we can do is to get great people like you and talk to people who love to listen to you. Tell us, coach, how did you manage taking away? I know you're a person that you don't like to sit all cooped up indoors. And how did you manage the last few weeks? And what can you tell people? Because what I understand, I don't know. I think Australia is kind of reducing all the restrictions, but it's not happening back in Sri Lanka. So, what's your advice to people? How would we keep our focus?
Well, yes, Terry, that's a lot of information you've given. Yes, the situation in Australia is never as bad as Sri Lanka because there's no curfews here. So I can sympathise a lot with people in Sri Lanka. In fact, I have a good friend, and he's reporting it pretty difficult, in the last few weeks under the curfew. But here in Australia, we have stage 3 restrictions. But that, doesn't prevent you from going out. Of course, when you're isolating, when I first came back on the 27th of March, I landed back here from Singapore. And 2 weeks, yes, I was cooped up. You just couldn't get out. In fact, the police came and checked. So when you arrive at the airport in Melbourne, Australia, they have your address and phone number, and they come and check. And if you're not where you should be, could be a bit of a problem.
Right. Yeah.
But thankfully, we did the right thing. They came and checked, no problem. But after 2 weeks, then you're allowed to move around a little bit. You're allowed to go to the supermarket. You're allowed to go to if you need to see a doctor, you're allowed to exercise. I haven't walked the dog in so many times in my life as I have in this little stint.
Yeah.
This period of time was anyway meant to be a few weeks off for me, but it's turned out to going to be 3 or 4 months for me. So, it's not that easy. I try and stick to a small routine. I'm on a 2-acre property, Charit, so plenty to do in the garden, mate, I tell you. I try and do a couple of hours a day, and then a late lunch, and then, a nice warm shower because it's cold here. Don't like the cold. Yeah, it's really cold. And then I watch, my favourite shows on television, and then it's cocktail hour. I can't wait till 5 o'clock every day. An icy cold Corona.
Great story, coach. But unfortunately, that all the bars down, the wine stores are closed here, so the people are seriously struggling, for 6 weeks, almost without any holy water, and all are eagerly waiting to see what's the announcement like tomorrow morning. That we all hoping for good news. Coach, there are so many. From this moment I announced that you'll be coming on the show, that there are lots of questions that have come up and need to ask you. And as you rightly said, coach, we are not the only ones who are affected out of this situation. There are lots of people out there. They don't know what to do. They have lost their businesses, and that they have lost employment. People are taking massive pay cuts, and so many people have asked me, what have you lost most? As you rightly said, I've been talking to a lot of people. I think this is a time that for you to reflect upon yourself, work on your whatever, your health, your fitness levels, perhaps get over some addictions and become a better person. There's not much we can do, and as much as you are, the one thing that I miss is to get out there and to throw a ball at a few folks and get on with life. That's what I'm praying for, that the day will come, we can all get on with our lives. So let's hope and pray that things will get better, and that we'll be up on our feet. That's all you can do. Coach, before I move on to what your post-COVID plans are, because I heard that. By the way, congratulations! That I got to know last evening you just uh, signed up with Baroda.
Rhoda.
That Yeah, it's a new assignment coming up. I'm sure that equally challenging as all the jobs that the work that we have done in the past.
Yes, for sure. The last 3 years, I've been fortunate to be the head coach of the Kerala Ranji Trophy team. We've had terrific success in 2 out of those 3 years. Last year wasn't so clever for good reasons, and that finished my 3-year assignment with them. I also had my own international cricket academy in Chennai. So
Right.
6 months or 5 months in Chennai, 6-7 months in Kerala was a full 12 months for me. But all those now is over. The 3 years for both of those have completed. And I'm very, very happy and keen to embark on another challenge in Baroda. They've also been a team which has got some promise but have been underperforming. And I'm really keen to see whether I can, lift their performances and see if we can't, make playoffs and win a trophy or two.
Well said, Coach. It's nothing new to you. And not to us that, when you took over Sri Lanka in 1996, taking you back now, there's, with the little experience that I had, it's very unfortunate that, I never had the opportunity to be coached under you, because I just gave up, I think, 2 years prior to that. And we have had short stints from various foreign coaches that are not on a permanent basis. I remember during my time, we had Dav Whatmore and few people just popping in, popping out, but nothing, on a constant basis. But we changed the whole concept. We decided to bring you in. By the way, people, there's something that I forgot to mention. This man, apart from all what he has done in his coaching, from coaching perspective, perhaps you are the first Sri Lankan born cricketer to have played for Australia. And it's a
Yep.
fact that we keep forgetting that you were the first to play for Australia. That's a massive achievement. Yeah,
That's
just
true.
the
I
so
think Charith, there was one guy who played for South Australia and made the Australian squad, but didn't play a Test match. Rex Sellers, I think his name was. So
okay, I didn't know that.
yeah, unfortunately he didn't play, but I was the first one to represent Australia, having been born in Sri Lanka.
Yep, and great news. And I did not realize that you initially that you did your studies. You studied at Royal, and it's a great honor for you. Right? You I always thought you from St. Peter's, but then I suddenly realized, really, the guy was at Royal. Okay.
That's Russell Arnold. Russell Arnold from St. Peter's.
Yes, that's true. Yeah, I know. And Coach, tell us that I know that I met you. I think when I first met you, perhaps you can't recall that my first trip to Australia, I was playing a bit of league cricket over there. I met you with Owen Matau. You were running a academy at Paran, and then the next thing I knew that you were with Sri Lanka Cricket. What was the how the whole coaching, having your own academy, and coming to coaching a national team, and what did you do? Just very briefly, you can tell us to make that 1996 team a winning bunch.
Well, again, Jesus, you covered a few topics, but yeah, going back with Owen Mata, that was a long time ago. Charith, you got a very good memory, a bit better than mine. But yeah, we had a small academy going, in a city. There were 3 partners, and we worked bloody hard, I tell you, for a very small profit. But that's all good experience for me. One-on-one coaching is very difficult, physically hard, and it actually challenges you to think about technique, because when you open your mouth, you've got to make sure it makes sense, because you are accepting money for a service that you're providing. But yeah, anyway, fast forward that in 1995, I was very fortunate again to be offered a 2-year contract with the border control for Sri Lankan cricket, as it was then, and that was my first coaching job. To be honest with you, I was coach of a Victorian Institute of Sport team, and a 12-month academy, which was fantastic. It taught me all about coaching, but to be responsible for a first-time coaching job to have an international team, wow, that was that really had a few butterflies flying around in my stomach. But I felt confident enough because I was trained to be a coach. I had a good cricket playing background, and my culture, coming from Sri Lanka, and my parents were born there, my grandparents were born there, so I'm very much a Sri Lankan who lived in Australia, to be honest with you. So that didn't bother me either. So, we're talking 1995, nearly 25 years ago that it happened. And I'm still trying to work out in my own mind the role of the coach, which evolves and it changes from team to team. That was my very first assignment. So I consider myself a lot better now than I was then. But I just followed my instincts, or followed my heart. There was definitely a true sense of what's the words? A duty of care. So people honestly felt that the coach cared about each individual, but I didn't get involved in too much technique, particularly with the senior players who played a lot more than I have. I only had 7 test matches up until then, so I'm not going to tell those guys how to play a shot. But I tried to organise each training sessions. I tried to bring in, and we did bring in some tactical stuff against opposition, and there was no computers then. I remember going to the company, can't think of it, Maharajas. And I sat down with, I got, I think, 4 or 5 VHS tapes from the cricket board library.
Right.
And to get 5 minutes of footage took hours and hours just to get 5 minutes. So I poured over as many as I could, for as long as I could, to get some footage against the opposition players that we were scheduled to play against in the first round of the World Cup. And, so that was much appreciated by everyone. And I just followed my instincts.
What a great story. I mean, as you rightly said, that the technique, that from a technical aspect, that we never had the time that you and I played, that we never had a analyst traveling with the team, all the sophistication and the footages to analyze the opposition and have team meetings. I think what you did, you brought in a different culture to our cricket. I still recall once I was driving from, I don't know, maybe from one of my late nights, of the weekend. I saw the boys running all the way from Moratua, I think down to that was brilliant. Along the way, the blessings the boys received, as a unit, running down, everyone cheered, and I think that really lifted the team up. The little things which you did, I think the mental aspect. I think you mainly worked on players' mental aspect. You reckon, is that the reason that the difference that you did to our cricket?
Look, I remember particularly that instance that you just recited. That particular session was, yes, it was a long, slow distance run, and we put them in a minibus. And we took off down the Gore Road, and Arjuna and myself worked out who were the best runners, and the best runners were kicked off the bus the furthest distance.
Right.
And as there was a perception of who was the next best. So then we stopped at like half a kilometre or a quarter of a kilometre, kicked out those, and then as it turned out, all the way down. And myself and Arjuna, we ran together for what appeared to be quite a few kilometres for me anyway, because we were the last ones. We were the last ones to get off the bus. So it was something different. It was really good, and we've done a number of different things to keep, to trick the mind. To trick that's half the thing. To trick the mind. If you keep coming to training every day, it's bloody boring, But there are times that I tell everyone in the squad, not necessarily Sri Lanka, mate, tomorrow is going to be a tough one. Please, I apologise right now. It's going to be so hard. So they come ready to go, and next thing, bus turns up, get in the bus, and we go to the beach, We play beach soccer, give them a decent feed, plenty of drink, and we come back. The mind's tricked, so then the next time training is, they all look forward to it. So little things like that from time to time helps as well,
Yeah, as I said before, coach, I'm not going to harp too much on, what we did the 96 glory and all that and all in the past. Now, there are interesting stuff I want to talk about. We're talking about dropping off the best runners, off the bus and, just the, and could you recall any of the hard jokes in that 96 squad that, every team, we have different individuals and how as coach that you do them as a manager, because as you and I know that everybody is not the same. There are people on different personalities, so your handling skills come in. Do you recall anyone as a really a tough bloke that you couldn't get around in that squad?
Yeah, there were. Yes, I'll tell you what. The more I think of it at the highest level, it's the management that makes so much of a difference.
Yeah.
But I think to have some tough love from time to time is very important. But not to shout and rant all the time, because it loses its effect. But I do recall one game in Tasmania where Sri Lanka played West Indies at Hobart.
Yeah.
And it was part of the Benson Hedges triangular. This is just before the World Cup. And we did a good job in bowling West Indies out. Only 200, the low 200s, I think. And then we proceeded to bat terribly. And we lost the game. And I said to our manager, Dullet Mendes, Dullah, I think in my mind, in my stomach, we need to have a go at them. I need to shout a bit.
Yeah.
He says, okay, do it. So kicked everybody out after the game, just the players, manager and myself, and the physio, and I unloaded. I told them what I thought, and then Aravinda, big player, Aravinda stands up with all the other players. Everyone's so quiet and says, Davy, this, something. I said, excellent. That's what I want you to do, but don't do it here. Take it out on the opposition. That's where you have to get angry. That's where you have to get mad, and don't get mad in here. You've got to do it to the opposition, and that really diffused what could have been a pretty interesting few minutes if that wasn't said. But Aravinda, he was a player's man. He always looked after the players, as did Arjuna. But that group, Charith, was very experienced group, most of them. There were some juniors, but they really all wanted one thing, and that's to win a game. And that's the beauty, and that's the best feeling you can get as an individual in a team or a coach, that these guys go out there to win.
Words of wisdom, coach. I think that should be the idea of any individual in his life. You don't get out there to lose. You go out with a plan and make your mind up. You need to win, no matter what. It's cricket, rugby, whatever, you play to win. And just a quick hi to everyone who is watching, coach. There are thousands and so many messages coming in, asking you many questions, wishing you well. And I will, after the show, because I don't want to distract myself, replying to everybody. And a big hi to everyone who's tuned in. Good to have you on the show. Going back to what you said in that group, coach, that what I call the senior tough group, always in a team. Where would you place a guy like Asanka Gurusinghe? He's a character. I have played with one of the toughest blokes. Where would you place him?
Well, I'll tell you what, he was pivotal in the group that we had then, because he was a little bit different to the other batsmen, in the sense that he didn't have the flair of the Aravinda De Silvas or Romesh, Sanath, Mahanama, Tilakaratne, Arjuna.
Yeah.
But he had an uncanny ability to stop the ball going past. He was a number 3 batsman who potentially could be in the first couple of balls, let alone over, because of the way our 2 openers were playing. it was very important that a player like Gura was able to defend and negate that new ball. And
Yeah.
once he gets over that initial period, then he's also got the ability to go ahead and get 100 himself. And he was
Yep.
one of the consistent performers in that World Cup. Let's face it. At number 3 going in, he got 50s, particularly in certain games were very difficult. So his contribution, was very important in the overall winning of that series.
Yeah, he's one of those unsung heroes of the
Yes.
entire tournament. I think Gura should get the due credit. The people don't know his contribution, and it's good to hear from. It's coming from the coach himself. But as a person,
and the dressing room. Don't forget the dressing room. In the dressing room, he held court. He's not backward in coming forward and sharing an opinion or two. And it's good to have a very positive individual in the group that sometimes can be, can have a lot of introverts. But he was very good to come out there and express his opinion in whatever subject it was.
Yeah, he's an extrovert, himself. But coach, are you telling all these things about Gura? Are you telling the truth? Personally, Gura can be very temperamental. I have been at the end of his antics on tour once or twice, which I'm not going to talk about. By the way, coach, there is a very special person who just want to say hello to you. So I'm going to just put him online. And I told you that I did not mention this fact to you. There are going to be a few surprises on this show, but I thought perhaps that you may like to see this person and to just to say hi to you. By the way, coach.
Hey, Davy.
What a surprise! What a surprise!
How are you, man?
Yeah.
How are you?
Gura and I speak a little bit over the last month or two. On other matters, but nice to see you, Guru. Very good. You're looking good, mate.
Actually, Chari, like Dev and I live about an hour's drive from each other. You're not far away, but because of these current situations, we can't even catch up.
Yes, it's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. But very soon, though, Guru. Very soon.
Yeah.
Dav, I must tell you that after speaking to you yesterday, I was racking my brain, how I could make this, the entire conversation interesting. And then I had a few messages coming, and people suggested, why don't you try and get some of the 96, players on the show and give coach a surprise. And the first message I sent to was Gura, and Gura surprised me completely. Even before I could, finish typing and send it, Gura comes online and said, mate, I'm on. That's, must say, I really, really appreciate that his promptness and his eagerness to come and, speak a few words. And it was amazing. Gura, thank you very much for the surprise. I knew the coach wasn't expecting to see you online. I was trying to
surprise. Well done, Jared.
I was praying and hoping that you would say something nasty about Gura so that we can have.
Well, actually, there's been one or two things, but that's all life.
Yeah, it's about time that we need to hear what happened in that the dressing room. When it all happened, coach, I will just tell you a story about this bloke. Gurusinghe, not many people know that one of the tours in New Zealand, and I think one of the first tours that we as a visiting team. We played 3 tough test matches, in New Zealand, and we came out unbeaten, and we had some super times. Sometimes our backs against the wall in my debut. I still remember, I got off for a duck, and I fielded for 800 runs. I think, Martin Crowe got 299. I don't know, Andrew Jones got 175. Actually, we got them out in the first innings for 144, and we were I think, 4 down for nothing, and the next day weather changed. Ara blazed away and got a brilliant 200. We posted a massive score, and we thought, here we go, boys, our first test victory, overseas, and bloody New Zealand batted for 3 days. And I still remember I was fielding at I think I was at point, and Guru had extra cars, and my legs were literally just just giving away. Guru was asking me, Ado, do you still want to play cricket, you idiot? And okay, that the first test was over, and the second test, I must tell you this. Quickly, I'll try and sum it up. That we did not have the luxury, unlike current players, we did not have our own room, and we were sharing rooms. And I had the task of sharing the room with Gura. And the second test went to bat. I was out for 9. Gura got a brilliant 100 in the first inning, brilliant 100. And the second innings, New Zealand batted, and they declared another, like another 1.5 days to go, and massive 425 deficit, for us to bat, for 1.5 days. And I went to bat. We were 99 for 1. I got out after getting 69 or whatever. I'm not going there. Gura has another story, why I got out, but we don't want to discuss about that. Anyway, Gura was overnight. He was not out, and he's my roommate. And so when we came back after the match, after the team meeting, and we used to have team meetings every other day, and I'm not going to go there either, because those team meetings were very eventful, drama, absolute drama, just not. So anyway, team meeting was over, and when we came back after the meeting, I was working for Maharajas then, just coach, and the Maharajas had a setup. We were playing in Hamilton, and the country manager came to see me with a bottle of champagne and said, "Mike, this was sent to you for your for getting a 50 or 60 or whatever, and Mr. Maharaja wants to give this bottle of champagne to you, and it's for you. And can I take you out for a drink?" I said, "Yeah." So I'm out. I have nothing to do, and I said, "Let me scoot off when the boys go to sleep. Let's go out." And said, Gura, get some sleep. The Gura comes up to me and says, "Hey, mate, now don't be, we are teammates. Now don't leave me and go. I'll just come with you. One wine and I'll get back." And I just thought, so I said, "Gura, no, if you make, you break curfew, we both, you'll be in trouble." And he was overnight batting. Gura probably 3-4 not out. I don't know. I can't recall. So I said, "One drink." So we went to the first pub. It was nothing much happening there. Went to the second pub. I told Gura, "Take a taxi, go back. It's time for you to go home." No. Gura, I said, "No, one more drink, mate. One more drink." Eventually, I think Gura and I crawled back into the hotel. I don't know, past midnight. Gura has he has his problems when he gets up in the morning. The snot coming out. And I don't know what. All sorts of complications. And Gura got late to get up. We were the last to get into the bus. And Gura had a massive hangover, and he was facing Danny Morrison. First over, then Arjuna wasn't pleased at all. First ball, Morrison bounced. Gura didn't know what happened. Second one, straight on the line, on the crown, Gura down. Amazing! And then put ice on Gura's head, and Arjuna turned around and said, "Mate, match over, you're going home. You are the bloody cancer in this team. You are spoiling everyone." So I was like on my knees praying, "Gura, don't get out. Don't get out." Next one, Morrison bowls a slow one. I don't know what Gura did, on one knee, hammered, Morrison out of the park, a big six over the grandstand, and Gura got a blazing 100. Wow. And we saved the match. We saved the. After the match, when he came back to the room, the bottle of champagne I had, I said, "Gura, you deserve it. This is your prize, not mine." He got back-to-back 100s, coach, in that test match. I'm trying to say he saved the game, and people, they don't understand what happened.
And saved his career in the.
Sorry, coach.
Saved his career in the process.
Yeah, that's how. That's Gura for you. And there are Gura. Do you remember this incident and Hamilton, that the back-to-back 100s you got?
Yeah, I do. Those days we did play hard as well, and we knew what is expected from each player. But I think you started. I just want to add something. You started something about Dav initially, and Dav was talking about the fitness side. I think what he changed was, he's absolutely right. At the highest level, technique is not going to be that important because we were pretty experienced, and there were few little changes you can do, but he changed our mindset, and a lot of players didn't realize that. It was the mindset that he changed, and the fitness we did was on our own accord. He will give us programs, but we did it, and then we realized that we can last 5 days. We are fit enough to go through and play at a very high intensity level, and that's what it is. So when we won, I know Dav came out and said, "It's the players," but to be honest, everything started when he came in and molded us our thinking. And then we had Alex Contoris, which Dav got him as well to work with us. And it's a small team, but was a very close-knit team.
Hey, good. I remember the first training session when I came in 1995. Would have been middle of the year sometime, and I was waiting to start. We had a fitness session at NCC. I think it would have been 7 o'clock, something like that. So I'm there early. I'm setting up a few of these witches' hats, and a huge black cloud came over, and it dumped unbelievable sheets of water on the ground, and all of us were there. And I remember, Guru, you saying to me, UT, that's it. We'll see you tomorrow. I said, please, this week, just give it a chance. Let it flow over. And we waited for a little bit, and sure enough, the thunderstorm doesn't last too long. Now, I remember saying, look, when you have a shower at home, you get wet, so let's get wet here, And we did the session. That's the best thing that I reckon happened at the start of my career.
No, you're right. And the players were on board, David. That's also was very helpful. Players got on board and did it. Our fitness started at 6 o'clock in the morning. Then our afternoon sessions were there. So as it is all the mindset. And I think now when you look back, you actually know exactly what happened. And we knew how to win from tough situations. And that's what happened. And that doesn't come just because you're playing cricket. That comes because so many factors are right. Number one is we were very fit. And when you're fit, you're mentally, you're thinking well.
And we had a swimming coach come and teach you how to swim, remember?
Yeah, we had 2 days a week of swimming sessions, 3 days of fitness at NCC. And then on a Saturday, Charit, we had a 1-hour job, which was half an hour you run and you turn back and come the other half an hour. Sometimes, as Davi said, will take us to a place and drop us and say, run back. But we all did it. And there was a couple of times we took buses as well. We actually took a bus. Couple of players used to take a bus and get off near NCC and wait until the rest of the guys come. But it was fun. But it was fun. And we enjoyed the session. It was really interesting sessions. We enjoyed, and when we had Dulip as well with that slip catching sessions, Gary, which was pretty much cut shots.
It came hard.
I mean, it's interesting what you guys are saying, that that's in our culture. Yes, we are natural ball players, but we did not, I think, pay that much emphasis on our fitness at that time. We were fit. It's all right. It's a natural fitness. But in order to become an international sportsman, we did not have the expertise, or we didn't do that much physical work, as Gura rightly said. I think it was coach. It was you who brought that culture. Made us realize that that fitness is an integral part of of cricket. That if you're physically fit, that you are mentally fit to go out there and perform. That's what you did.
Yeah, sure. I get a sense also what was happening, way back in those sort of mid '90s and even before. The relationship between coach and player was, I think there was a bit of a gap. There was like sir, this, that. But I didn't make it a conscious decision to come to the players level. I was there. I took my shirt off quite a number of times when there was no cameras, and I was happy to blend in with the group. And that had a favourable effect. And I believe from there on, a number of coaches also began to behave in that manner, that they arrived with shorts and trainers and ready to sweat a little bit. Whereas before, maybe it was, coaches were behaving in a slightly different way, which is not a criticism.
But Chari, I think the fitness side with what Dav did was, we used to do fitness, which you can remember with Chandushan Perra played a major part as well those days. But our focus a lot was on endurance. We were running a lot, which is important. That's true. We ran miles and miles and miles. But what Dav brought was very cricket-specific fitness. And because on the field, sometimes in a single over, you might have to chase 3 balls to the boundary line. And then the 4th ball, it might be a diving catch. And if you're tired, you're going to miss it. And our fitness was very specific to that kind of situation. So that's where I think we improved, was like even running between the wickets. One day when you do take a lot of singles or twos or threes, you still have to get your breath back and start running the next one. So there were very little things, but people outside might not look at it and say, what the hell, nothing was happening. But we know as players what went through.
It all adds up. It all adds up.
Great stuff, coach. Since you started doing it, as you rightly said, that your first international assignment when you took over, that you had butterflies in your stomach, and since then you have come a long way. I think after you left us, you had a stint with one of the county teams. I think it was Lancashire, if I can recall, and you had a great season. I think you won the league. I think you won the Nat.
No, we won the NatWest. We won the Sunday League. And the county championship, we missed by 2 points, and we were semi-finalists of the Benson. So it was a really good. My second year, first year had no idea what I was doing, mind you. I learned a lot, pretty much the first year. Second year is when we absolutely nailed it.
Yeah, there you go. I mean, did that all everything else that you did after the stint with Sri Lanka? Did that help you to become a better coach, or how did you all as a coach?
Sure, absolutely. Each year comes and goes. Whether you're a player or whether you're a coach, it doesn't matter. You still get better. And I'm certainly in my mind, I'm a much better coach now than I was all the way back in '95. But it also depends on the group of players you're working with. I was very fortunate to start off with a group that was highly skilled and was really not lacking in any motivation to prove a point, particularly to the big teams like Australia and other big teams, and that was really evident to me and a really comforting feeling. But as you go along, you're not always going to have that group of players. Bangladesh certainly didn't have that group of players. We had to identify other ways of achieving, of setting goals. Pakistan was the same, and then I finished up with Zimbabwe, and they also had another set of goal setting to do. But certainly I think at the start it was really good to work with a very senior group of players, and as you go along, things change a little bit, but it's up to you as a coach to adapt to it.
Great stuff. But taking back, that you had a second stint with Sri Lanka, after your stint with Lancashire and all that, wherever you were, and which stint did you enjoy most, the '96 or your second stint with the team? I'm not sure whether Gura was there then when you came back for the second time.
No, I wasn't there.
Guru, yeah, unfortunately, we had him only had him in the first stint. It was really good. Obviously, winning a World Cup is something very special, but more of a challenge the second time around in 1999, 31st of July. I'll never forget. I arrived back in Colombo, and Sanath was the captain. There was a number of changes. A lot of senior players were not playing. Arjuna played, and Roshan, Mahanama, Tilakaratna, they all missed out. And it was a new look team. That was when Sangakkara began to start his career. Mahela was beginning to become more recognised. So it was a different group of players, but nevertheless, difficult for Sri Lanka to lose at home. Difficult for teams to travel to Colombo and Galle and Kandy and win. So we had a terrific run of Test victory. I think it was 9 or 10 victories in a row.
Right.
Muralitharan grew as a spinner. He always had the ability. It was always when, not if, with Murali. And I, along with other coaches who have come after me, benefited from having a match winner like Murali. So I've never failed to be so happy to have a guy like that in your team. Sanath was a match winner certainly in the white ball cricket. Kalawatana continued. It was so good. Sangakkara, as I said, came back, and then Mahela also showed his class in that 4-year period that I was there.
Right. Now that you mentioned that Sanath and Kalu, we always knew there was never a question that Gura is going to bat at number 3 during 1996. That's one of the places that was assured and guaranteed to rise at number 3. But we made some very interesting changes, and the combination of Sana and Kalu. We did that experiment in New Zealand at the tour that I was in one of the games that we chased down against one of the 3-day games that we played. Was it your decision entirely to bring in a new opening
Okay.
combination and hitting the ball over the top? And that was a like a novelty. It was innovation.
So many people have asked that same question, and I've always give the same answer. And I've just read the other day, I read an article where Dulip had given a few quotations also on the very same subject, and it all matches up. Dulip was the one that came to me a couple of days before the one-day international in Melbourne and suggested, why don't we open with Kalawatana? And like it was like a light going on in a dark room, because it made so much sense. Kalu was a very free batsman. It hits the ball beautifully, front foot, back foot, square of the wicket, whatever. But where he batted at number 7, there was always, the field was spread, and he would invariably play some great shots and get caught out in the deep. So with him coming up in the first 15 overs, that allowed him to play with as much freedom, but a lot more vacant real estate outside that 30-yard circle. And, to me, it was just a brilliant idea. Immediately, I saw the sense in it, and I really wanted to go with it, and was very positive with it. But I read Dulip had apparently said that to the captain first, and then told me. So that's probably right as well. But it didn't matter. It was Dulip's idea, in my opinion, and I loved to hear it. And we both, pushed it along, and it worked out brilliantly.
Oh, great story, coach. But I think it was a great call, and you had nothing to worry. You had the ball batting at number 3, so
Yes.
even if you lose a wicket, you always had the comfort of the Gura coming in at number 3 and stabilizing the innings. That's the. I think you had a great bunch of guys who could fit into places. And had a great middle order. Don't you think
That's
that in the players that they trusted? I think number 7. I think Roshan or Hassan was batting at number 7.
Correct.
So we had, yeah.
I did all the team meetings, so I know what was said. And my way of allowing Sanath and Ramesh to bat was that I would always finish my meeting by saying that, don't forget that we could be 2 for none, 2 for 1. The way we play, we can always be in that situation. But not to worry. We have the next 5 players who are all had the ability to get 100 themselves, and not a problem. So that was my indirect way of saying, son, go out there and just express yourself the best way you can. Continue to be positive, because no problem. You have an armchair ride. You look behind you, Gurusinghe, at De Silva, at Ranatunga, Bahanama, Tiligaratna. They can all get 100, so don't worry about it.
Yeah, great story, coach. There are so many.
Yeah. Sorry, just to add into that, which Dav didn't tell, is the security they gave Sanath and Kalu as well, because you can ask people to go and play their normal game, but we are all human beings. But the security that Dav, Dulip as chairman of selectors and team manager, and Arjuna with Ara gave was, whatever happens, you guys are playing the World Cup, and we are not going to drop you. And when a player's got that thing, backing the whole team and the selectors and the coach is backing you, you will do things in the middle. So that's something they didn't tell, which is, I don't think it's happening now at home.
Great story. When you look back, the coach, looking at your frankness, when we first started the conversation, I said, what a humble man you are. You never took the credit for winning the World Cup. You gave it to the boys. And yeah.
Look, I will make a comment or two. Look, I'm pretty sure nearly all the coaches I know will tell you that the players make the coaches. No question. I've worked with Olympic gold medal winning coaches when I was at the Institute for 4 years. And those guys also share the same the same view. It's the players that make the coach. No question. It's not the other way around. But at the same time, it is a balance. There is also a piece of that jigsaw puzzle that helps very much to keep that group together. But on the balance of it all, it's the players who have to go and do the hard work, don't they? They have to go and take the difficult catch to get through a difficult period with the bat. When it's really tough and you got the ball in your hand, there's nothing happening. They're the ones who actually go through a very difficult and stressful time. And so they obviously deserve the bulk of the credit.
There you go. I know, that there are so many questions. Maybe these are people who were not there at the start. Keep asking, what are Mr. Whatmore's involvement in cricket in the future? We spoke about it, guys. He's taking over Baroda province in Ranji Trophy, and he'll be joining the Baroda district, and as director coaching or director cricket, and that's a challenging job. Hopefully that all this what is going on, this pandemic is over, and we'll all get back to cricket. And coach, you still believe that physical? I think the game has evolved much more. When you look back from to what's happening now, what you see on field, fielding skills and the batting skills, and with so many trainers getting involved, the players looking at the body mass index, and like you're looking at various other aspects. Perhaps if all those things were there, some of us would not have played. We can't meet all those standards. All those physical standards that are in place. How do you think, as a coach, is it very important that we place so much emphasis on fitness at the moment?
Look, whether we like it or not, because of the frequency of games, players do need to have a decent level of fitness. And if the most recent example of this in India was that, regardless of how good you are, unless you can reach a level of in the yo-yo test of 16.1, then you're not going to play. And that's actually happened with a couple of really good players in India, but they were not selected simply because they didn't reach that standard. So, I think because of the frequency, you need to have a base level of fitness. But at the end of the day, also, it is a skill-based game. There's no question about that. So it is also, I think, you've got to be careful when you make too many, tough statements that you have to follow through. I'd rather be a little bit more balanced, because it's a skill-based game. You still need to have skill to play that game. It's not like, the game of football where you just run. Here you do have to run, yes. You need to repeat a tough sort of situation, but you need to have a good base of skill from which to perform that skill. So I think you need to be a little careful and be balanced, but at the end of the day, because of the frequency, you do need to be fitter. But all these guys are doing strength in the weight room. That's all good, but I'd be very careful about lifting weights above your head. There's nothing in cricket that you do that you need to have strength to lift a weight above your head. Everything is done from the waist or from chest down. So I think it'll be really good if players are always available for selection, not because of fitness issues.
Guru, that you were involved in the high performance center not too long ago. Do you share the same sentiment as Coach said, that we pay? To tell you, Coach, 16.1 yo-yo in Sri Lanka, it's a very low benchmark. Ours is much higher, Coach. That for the club teams, I think our pass mark is 17.5. Yes.
Yeah. I think, Chari, that's a good question. I'm more into being match fit, players to be match fit. That's what Dav's talking about. I think skill level and all of that, because I would like a bowler to bowl that 20-25 overs in a game at full capacity, the full pace, everything, and batsmen to do that, because just because you can do a yo-yo, say 18-1 or 18-5 or whatever, that doesn't mean it can be translated, moved into a position to score runs. I think the issue was the whole cricketing world, Chari, but my involvement a few years there, it's sports science has taken over a lot, and they work on these charts and all of that to say this is the way the human body works. And to me, personally, I don't agree. But when there's a group of people to make decisions, it's sometimes difficult to walk away and not put certain restrictions. So yes, Sri Lanka cricket most probably had one of the highest levels of fitness testing, where Devi, the yo-yo pass mark for the national team was 18.1,
There you go.
and pretty much
Any
everyone
failures?
no, everyone was doing it. They were doing it, but at the same time, Devi, we had a lot of injuries as well. So something was not working. Uh, just because players are fit to do a yo-yo test doesn't mean that when they go and play and bowl 15 overs, 20 overs in a test match or at a very high intensity level in a one day or a T20, they were getting injured. And so my whole thing was sports science good, but you have to seriously look at match fit. I wanted players to be match fit rather than saying fit in a fitness test.
Yeah, the one that
But
strikes me the worst, Guru, was that Nuwan Pradeep. He had so much ability, but I just noticed most of the time he's not playing because he's injured. And that's a real shame.
it is. I mean, he's a fantastic player, and to me, this is again personally is if he played a lot of cricket and bowled a lot of overs, I felt his body would go get back. But then he had some bad injuries. His hamstring injuries are really, really bad ones because it's a couple of times it's actually tore from the bone itself. So I can understand where the trainers and physios are coming through because with his age as well, when you're 30 plus,
Yeah.
trying to get everything up and running. But he was a brilliant player. But I think we had a few injuries with Nuwan Pradeep was one. Then, I mean, Dushmanta Chamira. One of
Yeah.
the he's quick, consistently can touch 145 plus and doing it, but then his body type. But it's pointless waiting till all this happens. I think cricket bodies need to address it very early. So, but it's happening. I mean, Australians most probably, David, you might know more, have been doing well in the last most probably 24 months. Their bowlers are available now to play.
Yes, they have, and they've got a very good battery of them, 4 or 5 right now that they can call upon. But they've still had their fair share of injuries. If I look at Pattinson as the most important one that sticks in my mind, he's had so much
Yeah.
ability, but he's the one that's he come back, he gets injured, he comes back, he's been out for quite a while. Now he's coming back again for the second or third time. And he's got to be looked after pretty carefully as well. But at the moment, with Stark and Hazelwood and in the other, I can't think of the other quick, but they're really good players. Really good players.
Coach, that's what Gura also mentioned. Then when you look at this is my personal observation with the game, and I'm still involved with the game. And when you look at our players coming from the suburbs and out of Colombo, we as the transition from school cricket to club cricket to test, we are not, we are not. Our boys don't have that exposure going into gym and putting massive weights. I love my weights. Today, I started doing my weights after I started playing for CCC, and with my involvement with their people like Andershan Pereira, and who got me hooked on weights, which I'm very thankful today for what those boys did, how they transformed me. When I first played for Sri Lanka, I was 69 kgs, but whereas I've gone up to 82 kgs now, mainly due to weights. But the point is, if you go and push heavy weights, we are talking about Nuwan Pradeep, Gura knows well. Gura was very diplomatic what he said. You go and push, 140 kgs, do a deadlift. You're more worried about building your muscle. When you go bowl 15, 20 overs on a day, that those tight muscles break. I had the time I was manager, I had a running battle with some of the trainers, getting the boys to lift massive weights. Coach, from your point of view, in cricket, do we have the players? Do they have to lift massive weights?
No. The idea, in my limited knowledge, first of all, you don't want to have bodybuilding. You need to have, you do your strength training to to get stronger and give you more flexibility around the joints. If you can get stronger there, and more importantly, have a greater flexibility, then that's all you need to do. Because that, because our skills in cricket will always test your joints. Be able to, to have an explosive skill around a joint. So if you can get that strong and give you plenty of flexibility, you're going to be in a good place.
Right, great stuff, Coach. Just to ask you, that with your now, that we have spoken so much about, it's almost an hour since we started. Don't want to keep you having too long. What's the news coming from India, Coach? With the pandemic, are they getting ready to start the season, or what are their plans?
Yeah, it's like in Australia, they're going to reduce a few restrictions. They already have in Chennai. I have friends there who've told me they can now travel. There are a couple of hotspots, Mumbai, around that Maharashtra area, but Goa, nothing. Baroda and Gujarat, a couple of naughty spots there. Northeast, no problem. So there are hotspots, and that's about it. But I think the restrictions are pretty much going to be relaxed a lot in the coming weeks, and certainly here in Australia they have in certain states. Victoria will know, and Guru will tell you tomorrow. We're hearing from the Premier of exactly what these restrictions, the releasing of these restrictions will be.
Right. We are from, just to let you know that you are away from the homeland, the motherland, and I'm still, I think you have certain affiliations to Sri Lanka, being Sri Lanka. We are very much, we everybody, that as I mentioned at the start of the conversation, that we are all cooped up and we are ready to go. And we just finished the domestic season. Very unfortunate. In a way, it's pretty ironic, the way the curfew came. The day after we finished the first round, it was after the Royal Tomi, and at the same time, the government declared curfew. So we finished the preliminaries. Then we had to play the Super 8s and the Tier B games. So just the final round 2 games. I think looking at it, that I feel that with all the international matches are out of the calendar, all the venues are available, and we can play. So we are also waiting for some sort of direction from the sports ministry and the medical authorities for us to get back on our feet and start training. And
BRC, yes, are they going to win? Is BRC going to win?
No, sir. To tell you very frankly, we were the start of the tournament. Everybody thought that we were that they could kick our asses. That was the chicken wing. To tell you frankly, I did not have any stars in my team. I only had Bhanuka and PhD Kaushal, just a handful of players, and then all a bunch of the new players that to play around with. I haven't done coaching for a while. And I didn't want to take up the job. I said, no way, I don't want to be there. But they insisted that I take over. I said the results would come. They asked me one thing, like, if you can, we don't expect miracles, out of you. If you can ensure that, that we don't get relegated, because everybody's coming to kick you, But to coach, to tell you that, see, I'm not a believer. I don't believe. Guru knows that, I'm a speaker. Just if you ask me how we got into the Super 8s with nothing team, I'm so grateful. So my job literally done. So we don't, even if we don't do well in the Super 8, we are safe next season.
Congratulations, Jared. Congratulations.
Thank you, sir. And if we can win at least 1 or 2 games and end up 3rd or 4th in the Super 8, I think I have done my job. I'm not expecting again and to go out there and win the Super 8. I know it's going to be very tough with the international players coming back, and everybody will be playing because there's no international cricket happening. And that will be massive exposure and experience for the youngsters to play in the 4-day and in big arenas and with all the top players. And personally, I'm very excited, to go out there and play. And just waiting for some sort of direction from the authorities when we can start training. Just perhaps if Guru can keep me informed what's happening there, that I could keep the authorities informed. What I suggested, before we start, let's test the entire squad and the coaching staff, perhaps the Super 8 teams, and then ensure that there are no that there are no risks involved, and just get on with it. I mean, that's my view. I don't know. What do you guys think?
Well,
Look, Chari, I
everyone
think,
wants that to happen. You
yeah,
go, Guras.
in Australia, so they're starting rugby league end of this month, but that's a high level professional tournament where they're going to hubs. There's no crowds. They are going to play inside empty stadiums, and they will start end of this month. At this stage is the plan. Then Australian Football League, which is footy, which is popularly called in Australia, they will start somewhere middle of June. Very similar. They're going into a 20-week hub, so the players actually cannot go home. For 20 weeks, those players will be in one place and they cannot go home. So, because the issue is, Chari, you mentioned about let's test all the players, but the players do go home. We don't know whom they are mixing with when they leave the ground. So, what AFL and Rugby League has done is the players can't go home. They are pretty much in quarantine now. The Rugby League teams have already gone into quarantine, 2 weeks quarantine, and then moving into their hubs. Cricket, at this stage, they still think domestic cricket will start in October, but they don't know when the training can be start with all players. There might be 10 players for a training session with the coach. That's where they are talking about. And another thing is, personally, and I think Dav might comment as well, I don't think the T20 World Cup will happen October, November this year. It will be pushed to February, March next year. It's still the Australian summer. Then the Indians are, I think, definitely coming here in November, because when it's one team, they're going into a hub. The initial plan was to play 5 test matches in Adelaide Oval, to host all 5 test matches. Because there's a
Right.
new hotel built right next to Adelaide Oval, supposed to be a very nice luxury hotel. Indian team was going to put up there, and they were just going to play from their 5 test matches. And then I saw a comment from Sachin Tendulkar saying, after the second test match, you would know which side is the home team, because everyone.
True.
So
Yeah.
I doubt they'll play in one place, because they can still travel to Melbourne, stay in one hotel and do it. But it's going to be very slowly in Australia that they'll open up the restrictions for team sports, especially because as soon as you go home, you don't know what's happening. So unless you can control that environment, in Australia, that's a problem. Then international travel, I doubt Australia will open till end of the year. They might open the New Zealand borders around August, September, but the rest of the world will not be open unless somebody wants to come to Australia, stay 2 weeks quarantine in a hotel, and then come out. So Indian team, I think, has agreed for the 2 weeks quarantine. So they'll come 2 weeks before, stay in one place, and then start playing. So that's a little bit of what's happening in Australia. So schools are, all those things have been up and running, especially in Victoria. It was all online, starting from home. But I think that Queensland is starting from next week. Children will go to school and things like that. So we are slowly coming back. We are much better at this stage than most of the countries in the world. I'm not talking comparing with Sri Lanka, but if you take other developed countries. But this is a virus, Charit. We don't know. It can spread in 2 seconds to a
Yeah.
major place. Like, there's a meat processing plant here. Currently, 85 or 86 is tested positive with connections to that meat processing plant.
Wow. That.
That's a cluster. I mean,
Yeah,
that
those
never
clusters are
happened.
going to come in. But
Yeah.
what Australia has done is, there's now they have enough facilities in their hospitals. Their health system can cope with it, even if there
Yeah.
are clusters, even if numbers go up. And they think the numbers will go up when they ease the restrictions. It's going to happen. And even in Sri Lanka from tomorrow, they will increase, I feel.
Coach,
The
couple of
biggest
quick.
thing,
Sorry, go ahead, Coach. Yeah, please.
the biggest thing here is that as long as the government has confidence that the transmission of the virus from a community-based angle is in control, then it should be okay. But all those people in this meat industry, yes, it was numbers are spiking up there, but they're all young, they're all fit guys, and I don't think any of them is in hospital. But the numbers don't look good, and they'll all recover. 97% of people who get the virus get it mildly.
That's what I thought, Coach. I don't know. I mean, a couple of weeks ago, I had a Filipino doctor on the show. What he said was like, we can't run away from it. You can run, but you cannot hide. You got to face it. You need a holistic approach to face it. Whether you like it or not. The more you show fear, the enemy is going to get you. So that's what he said. Coach, before we wind up, there are a couple of questions that is Deepa from Malaysia. This is, by the way, it's not restricted, the show, only to Australia and Sri Lanka. That it's a worldwide audience, that people, they say, Bilki from all the way from Toronto, 1:35 a.m. Brilliant watching you guys. People from, all walks of life, the Deepa is asking, could you ask Coach to please explain the role of yoga in cricket? And how big is yoga getting involved? And Sujiva Silva from USA. Remember Suja, the left armer?
Yes.
Are you still touching players' elbow, when you're coaching,
Yes, the short answer is yes.
You do. There's no other reason. It's just a habit, Coach. I believe that you touch. You got to be careful, where you touch the players. Nowadays, unlike say, Gura is laughing. I can see that. So Suja, it's just a habit. But could you, say that how we can incorporate yoga in cricket? Just very quickly.
Well, yeah, yoga is slowly becoming a preferred approach by a number of players. Certainly in India, one of our better players in Kerala practices yoga every day. His father is a very long-standing yoga instructor, and his strength of mind is incredible. His name is Jalad Saxena, and he's been responsible for winning a number of first-class games for us of his own performance, and he's very, very strong in his mind. So apart from most of us know yoga as being the ability to be flexible and stretch and that sort of thing, but it's also extremely good for your mental approach to be disciplined and to keep your focus. So I would recommend a small portion of yoga with cricket. No problem. I'd back that.
Great stuff. And by the way, there are people from India watching as well, and he has written to me and asking me whether he could do exclusive on the show. Yes, you can, between no restriction. I don't think Coach Asanka minds. But please get his name right. It is not Asanka Gurusinghe who's watching. It's Asanka. Asanka Gurusinghe is on the show. So just please don't in your article don't say it was a great interview with Asanka Gurusinghe, because Gura will be in trouble. Just get and that's going to be hilarious. And I'm sure that the Bipin will get it right, and hopefully the Bipin will get a chance to interview Mr. Whatmore once he's in India. Thank you, Durkee, for the great comments all the way from Canada. Lots of people from Canada watching, and a few from Australia as well, and quite a few from Sri Lanka. The people are still joining in. It's, by the way, because it being a Sunday, Mother's Day, I think people some of them were in churches. We are still a very spiritual country, Coach. No matter what happens.
Except you, Jerry. Except you.
My spirituality comes, it's here. I do not have to go out and,
I know.
It's all in here,
I know.
So I do not have to, to go out and express my feelings. So I try to bring in everything rather than going outward. I'll leave it there, because otherwise we'll start a holy war here. And the coach, the president of BRC says, Coach, we'll surprise you by winning the Super 8. Mind your words. Oh my God.
Well done. You'll do it. Don't worry.
And Sriyan Senadira says hi to Asanka. Good to see you. He's all the way from New Zealand, by the way. And someone's calling you Uncle Gura. Great to see you. You are all your fans coming through, and many blessings to Coach, and people thanking you for all what you have done for Sri Lanka. There we go. that one guy says, your bloody spirit comes after 750 ml. Yes, sir. Yeah, I'm not
But
denying.
I think, Charit,
Yes, sir.
one thing about Dav is when you really look at all coaches, take all the top coaches in the world who has been there and won World Cup. But they have pretty much done with one country. They have been in one country and done it. But this man, not because he's here and he's a friend of mine, this man
Yeah,
started with Sri Lanka, took Bangladesh to a position, took Lancashire to win trophies, came
yeah.
back to Sri Lanka and took us to a semi-final in 2003. Did well, and he's the only overseas coach in Ranji Trophy. India doesn't take overseas coaches easily. I'll be honest,
Sure.
man. India doesn't take to their national team. Their national team doesn't have overseas coaches. This is the
Absolutely.
only man who is the overseas coach in India. So you have to have some kind of uh, to me, he's a magician. I mean, and it's people skills. His unbelievable people skills is where the reason is. So people don't talk about this man, and I'm so happy, Charit, that you wanted to have a chat with him because everyone talks about the '96 World Cup or anything else, the players, but this man nobody talks about a lot. But if you look
Thanks,
back,
Gura. I was going to ask you, what as a player, what are your impressions, on Dav? You sensed it. You spoke about it. You have already answered. I wish,
but he's a
that I
friend.
asked. Go
I
ahead, sir.
think
Go ahead.
if you talk to every team that he has coached, he's a friend to the players as well. He's not just, hey, I'm the coach, you do what I say. He's a friend. He listens to you. He takes things from you. He might take your ideas, and he's not like what he said about Kalu opening. I mean, any coach, to be honest, there are a lot of coaches who would have taken the credit. He was
Sure.
very open to say that came from Dullah, and
Mm.
yes, and I took it because all top coaches will do that. And but to coach different sides, different cultures, you got to go there and get used to it and settle down. Man, uh, Charlie, you and I can't do that. I'll be honest.
I know. And the reason why I decided to have Cam on the show is, there's so many people. I always felt that, he perhaps did not get the due credit that he should have. Being the man who changed our culture of cricket. And, sir, on behalf of entire cricketing fraternity and the 96 players, like the great players like Ryan, sir, and the reason why I asked you to come on the show to show our gratitude. Thank you very much for all what you have done for us and for being on the show. And John Van der Putten, say hi all the way from Bangladesh to say hi to great coach. And coach, if you can, at some point, there are so many messages wishing you. If you can just say thanks to these people and Fitra as well. People writing to all you guys, and just wishing you well in your future endeavors. It's great, amazing. And,
Hey,
once again,
Jared, should I get my secretary to do it? Alex.
big thank you to Alex. That's Gura. It's a funny story, mate. I very briefly told you yesterday, and now I was trying to get the old man online. The technology and coach wouldn't work, and I thought, oh bloody hell, here we go. That he's not going to come on the show. Then he's, very politely asking me, can I ask Alex to fix it for me, please? I said, please do that. So Alex took his device, played around, and he said, "Sorry, forget it. The old man's device is not working." Is that true, coach? Your device is not functional anymore. I don't know. I mean, just I'm just,
I'm okay. I'm okay with most of the stuff, but I'm not that tech savvy. But Alex, she's pretty good at that. So she came and she bailed me out.
she was brilliant. It's amazing, Gura. Just probably that I have written to the company that the software that I'm using. It's a little dodgy. That sometimes it works. Sometimes it does not. But we were both trying. The coach and I, we tried to get him online. It did not work. Alex comes, just clicks it on. He said, "Here I am. Here we go." And you had no issues at all. And
No, I
Gura,
didn't, but yeah.
yeah, Gura was, he was online in a jiffy. So Gura, before you go, what are your plans post COVID, mate? Are you, just I mean, it's a personal question. As a friend, I'm asking
No,
you.
it's look, there are a few projects I'm working on, and Dav has been working with me on some of the projects. He has been supporting me a hell of a lot. That's why we have been talking for the last 2 months. We have actually was about to start a excellence center in Melbourne with Sali Ahangama. But
Right.
with the virus, we had to put everything on hold. So hopefully, if certain things are relaxed, we might look at starting it again, because we are coming into our summer in another 4 months or 5 months. So our cricket pretty much is coming up, not like in England, UK, where the season is pretty much done. So there are a few things. I wanted to take a break initially when I came back. So now I'm
Right.
looking at a few projects. So I think hopefully in the next month to 1.5 months, we'll know what future holds for me.
Absolutely. By the way, gentlemen, to both of you, again, a message from the president of BRC, the club that I'm coaching right now. Although Dav, I'm a through and through CCC member, that my heart is with BRC right now. Just like wherever I lay my hat, that's my home. So I consider BRC as my second home right now. I do not know whether you know this fact that the BRC was the first club that they declared the entire 1996 the World Cup winning team as honorary life members of the club.
Wow.
Yeah,
I don't know if
I
that.
knew when I was there. I was told about it. So we knew that. But the players know
Perhaps
that.
coach did not know. Coach, you're an honorary life member at BRC. So next time
Go the
in Sri
Burgers.
Lanka,
Go the
yeah,
Burgers.
exactly, your home, man. That's
Thank
your
you.
home. Yeah. And you've been invited by the BRC, both of you, next time in Sri Lanka. It's all on us, sir. That we would love to host both of you as our honored guests. That's our Sri Lankan hospitality. Any given time. It's great to have you.
Consider
No
Uh,
worries, Sorry.
yeah.
We'll take you
So
on that offer.
please, anytime, next time when you're in Sri Lanka, just please do that. So I know it's going to be a tough question, before I let you go. Any plans, coming back, doing anything in Sri Lanka? Do you still would like to come back? And after all these years?
Oh, I never say no, Charit. You know that. There's been a little bit of a attempt, I guess, to come back. I guess to do that successfully, both the employer and the employee needs to be, to tick a few boxes. We were moving in that direction, but unfortunately, it didn't quite happen. But you never know. You never know in the future. I never say no to anything. It'll be good, though. It'll be great to finish up back in Sri Lanka.
Brilliant,
Actually,
brilliant.
Sorry, when I was there, yeah, we came very close for Dav to join us. But
Right,
then,
yeah.
then I moved out as well, and then Dav's thing didn't materialize. But then, to get Baroda, fantastic.
Yeah.
Excellent. So, I wish you nothing but the very best in your future endeavors, in whatever you do. I know that you're a great man, a great human. You know your onions. Wherever you go, that you will perform. And that's not the problem. You got the credentials, and you got the experience, and you got the heart to do that. That there's no doubt about it.
Thank you.
I wish you well.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
And Gura, thank you very much for agreeing to come on the show, and I appreciate it very much. Once again, to both of you gentlemen, big thank you and for making today. And if I made any mistakes, my apologies. I tried not to put you guys in any awkward positions, which I hopefully did not. And great pleasure, talking to both of you legends. And stay safe, sir. And Gura, you too. Say hi to Kushi and sir, to your lovely wife and Alex for everything that you did, and everybody. Sorry, sir.
Well, thanks, Alex. Thank you, mate.
It's a pleasure having both of you. Yeah.
I'll talk to you later, Devi.
And take care. And thank you very much. Bye bye. And catch you again.
Bye.
Cheers.
Good day. Bye.
Bye.